Failure by consecutive governments to improve access to basics such as healthcare, education, and failure to expand infrastructures was just one of the many burning issues at the start of Tigray's resistance against the military junta in 1970s. Until the mid-1990s, Tigray had a population of about 4 million people but had only 4 high schools and no universities. The determination of the political elite at the time to improve education is no more illustrated than in the fact that even in the midst of the bitter resistance with the military junta, Tigray People's Liberation Front, the political party leading Tigray's resistance, would manage to open 58 primary schools, train nearly 700 instructors, and get close to 20,000 students through primary schools. Above all, the education system established during the resistance had established Tigrinya as a language of instruction, giving the people of Tigray a sense of pride to learn and write in their own language. TPLF and EPRDF's contribution towards the education sector in Ethiopia was remarkable, a country that had one of the poorest education systems in the world due to armed conflict, famine, and humanitarian crisis was transformed. Enrollment of children at school age reached about 95% coverage. The expansion of secondary and tertiary level education was massive. A country with an intake capacity of few thousands in 1991 expanded to over 400,000 in the year 2014. The access of ordinary Tigrayans had also shown exponential growth before the start of the conflict in November 2020. Tigray had 2,221 primary schools and 271 secondary schools, with close to 1.5 million pupils, with almost exactly half being women. In May of 2021, Human Rights Watch would issue the first report focused primarily on bringing to light the level of damage on Tigray's education system. It also has to be noted that the destruction of the educational infrastructure in Tigray had not only resulted in monetary crisis in Tigray but also deprived millions of children the right to education. The report would find that education facilities across the state were deliberately and systematically destroyed by Ethiopian and Eritrean forces, their equipments looted and infrastructure damaged. A shocking report by Tigray Education Bureau reveals Tigray has lost over 200 teachers and close to 2,000 students since the start of the conflict in November of 2020.
1,911 students, 235 teachers and other staff members, including the academic leadership, totally 2,146 members of the educational society lost their lives during the aggression period, out of which 1,798 are female and 348 are male.
The head for the Bureau of Education, Shisha Amare, says that the average walking distance to access primary schools has declined to its status in 1992, which was 7.3 kilometers, but the distance to access secondary schools has reached a whopping 17 kilometers.
As an indicator, if we take a radius of walking distance to schools, home to school distance, average home to school distance of accessing primary schools, in 2020, it was 2.5 kilometers, excluding Western Zone. Current status of this indicator is 7.3 kilometers. That means we have got declined back to 1992. This was the status in 1992. Walking radius to access secondary schools, we had 7 kilometers radius in 2022. Now it reached 17 kilometers.
The head for the Bureau says he believes there were more sinister intentions behind invading forces' systematic destruction of schools in Tigray.
Among their genocidal targets, education and educational infrastructure were the top focuses of these invading and fascist forces. They also targeted human and historical educational capacities of Tigray. They are well aware of damaging education as best instrument to eliminate people in both short and long term.
The deliberate destruction of educational facilities in Tigray is just one of the many appalling features of the ongoing conflict, while the world continues to watch idly by as the people lose over 40 years of intensive investment into their future.